Welcome back to another episode of With Sonar. You've got Luke and Kyle here, and we're excited to share with you a fantastic lineup today. It's a lot going on in the market. We're, first off, happy 4th of July now that that's over. Okay, did you have a good 4th of July, Kyle?
I'm still recovering from the amount of food I've eaten, but yeah, I'm recovering. Good thing it's hot out because I'm sweating every time I walk out the door.
You mean you don't go on a diet during the holiday?
Yeah, no, I don't eat less during the holidays, if that's what you're referring to.
Okay.
No,
You're on the seafood diet.
Nope. Yeah, whatever I see, I definitely eat.
Yeah, okay. No, I like it for sure. Did you stay here in Chattanooga or did you go somewhere else?
Yeah, stayed here in Chattanooga, smoked some wings, had a buddy who smoked a pork butt, and then my other friend's dad smoked some ribs.
Yeah.
All in the same event. So we had a good old barbecue and yeah, got to just enjoy celebrating America's Day.
That's awesome, man. I love that. I love that. Now, we've got a lot coming in here. You know, unfortunately for some folks, or maybe not unfortunately, I don't know. Maybe they enjoy the storm, but down here we've got a tropical storm Elsa. It's going from hurricane to tropical storm, kind of bouncing a little bit back and forth.
Teetering with us.
I think last update I saw it was down to a tropical storm, but hitting there. So got a lot going on there. Obviously, we're going to take a look.
Yeah, not only do we have that going on.
You're from Florida, though. I mean,
I'm a Florida guy.
What's been your experience here? Like, I know obviously some of them are way worse than others. There's a big range there, but like, what's the sentiment from Floridians?
What's a hurricane? It's we saw. It was barely even was a Category 1 hurricane. So what do we think in Florida? We think, go buy some Triscuits, get you a bottle of wine, maybe something maybe some tuna cans or something, and have you a nice day. Maybe play some board games. But unfortunately, probably it just passed right on by. We had a lot of rain yesterday, and what happened? We just watered the grass a little bit and went on with the day. Everyone still had to go to work.
Now, I wouldn't call myself a food connoisseur. I'm definitely not a Gordon Ramsay, but you're from Florida, and I feel like there's good fishing in Florida.
Yeah.
Good seafood in Florida. Yeah. And you went to get yourself a can of tuna?
Well, let's say, okay. So
I'm trying to understand here.
Clearly not a hurricane person.
Well, trying to understand.
Power goes out. How are you going to refrigerate things?
Yep.
Can of tuna, canned stuff.
Yeah.
You don't need.
But like you could have said like a can of like tomato soup or something. I'm just saying, like, I feel like if you have good seafood, why take yourself down to the level of canned tuna? No disrespect to the canned tuna lovers out there, but also a ton of disrespect.
Agree to disagree. I'm a big tuna fan.
Yeah.
And they sell those individual packets where you got the spicy Thai chili, you got the buffalo sauce. So it's
okay. First off, now we're going to packets. I do think the packets are better than the cans.
Yes.
So I'm with you there.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we found a little common ground. That's good.
Clearly, you've never lived through a hurricane.
I've never lived through a hurricane.
I've lived through 5. So it's what you do is you just buckle down, take you a good hurricane day. Those are my favorite time at the beginning of the school year because right in August, you're still on that end of hurricane season. And I always account for a couple of hurricane days.
Yeah, get a few days off school.
Get a few days off. You play
things you don't hear from somebody who's not from Florida. I can't wait for hurricanes.
You get like tornado warnings.
Yeah, we have a couple of those. We got a couple of those. But anyways, no. Okay, so that's great. Now, there's also a lot going on in the freight world. And we're going to get to that, okay? And don't forget, folks, I'm going to give us an Olympic update here in a little bit. You guys know I'm a big Olympic person. Love the Olympics. All about that. We're coming up here on the day screen. But before we get there, let's talk a little bit of freight here. A lot going on in the news here. I know Kyle's going to share some stuff. One thing that I saw is, if you remember, who remembers the Ever Given, right? Do we remember that name? Maybe vaguely. Ever Given, what does that mean? So if you remember from back, I believe it was March now, late March, the Ever Given was the big ship that got stuck in the Suez Canal. So it's coming from
that
China.
one. Okay.
Exactly right. Going from China, and then it was going through the Suez Canal, and it got stuck there. And we know it cost a ton of money to get it out. Very costly. Lots of delays. It bottlenecked things even
Billions
further.
of dollars in backups.
Billions of dollars in backups. I think over $5 billion at least was the initial estimate, and it might even be higher than that now. Anyways, that ship was just released through customs. They were working on a settlement for what the ship caused, and I think they're coming to a settlement. The official numbers haven't been released. Initially, they were seeking just under $1 billion. And the estimate, although it's unconfirmed, we don't know this for certain, is the settlement is probably going to be closer to 150 million. Of course, that's subject to change. We don't know until we get the final numbers, but that's where it's looking, at least at the moment. But anyways, it's finally getting released. So 3 months later.
Yeah.
And they're finally getting released by officials. And I think
they're probably like, was the captain just a little asleep at the wheel, or was there some sort of manufacturer's error or something that caused this guy to turn to the right a little bit? But but no, very interesting. Speaking of, billion-dollar settlements, or even not really settlements, but we saw another acquisition. We're in acquisition time frame. Clearly, summer of money. That's what we're looking at right now. We've seen mergers, we've seen large acquisitions, we've seen billion-dollar valuations. What did we just see? Nightswift has acquired AAA Cooper, a very large Midwest, Southeastern regional style of LTL provider, which is very interesting. And can you guess for how much?
I mean, it's got to be in the billions, right? We don't talk about millions here.
$1.35 billion is what that was purchased.
Congratulations, you are a unicorn.
Yeah, well, let's talk about this a little bit, because Nightswift, that was a big merger back in the day. I wasn't even around for that, really. I was, probably in grade school. But it was, you had two different dynamics of a transactional style with a very, I guess you would say, rigid type of provider, where they really merged together to have a good blend of contract, spot, operation, asset carrier type of provider. But this is an LTL provider. So for a really long haul style of carrier to acquire an LTL provider, which is very regionalized, that's very interesting in my head, because I'm almost like, why? Why would you? And I've speculated with some of our research staffs, and I was like, first thing I thought of was, okay, could this be a final mile kind of play? Nightswift is a very smart organization. So they're not, and obviously $1.35 billion. I mean, that's not just like we're just going to throw all this on black and see how
Sunday lunch for them.
That's just a couple coins in the pocket. But but
you need a little change?
A little pocket change, but an LTL. I just can't believe it. I mean, what are your you didn't really play too much in the LTL game, but if you can imagine someone who just traditionally only did long haul truckload, now they're acquiring an LTL provider.
My initial thought, which wasn't all that profound, so stay in your seats here. But it was just, Nightswift, they're so big in the truckload game. I think they kind of, tiptoe for being I think they are the largest in terms of number of assets in the truckload space. And the way I saw it was, maybe they're just going to go ahead and test their foot at the LTL game, and they're going to buy this company and see what they can do with it, right? Just simply as a test. Obviously, they're going to probably combine networks and resources. We understand that. But I think the real test will be to see, can they maybe transition? Can they provide extra value to this? And if they can, maybe they'll continue to expand those efforts and service offerings. That's my initial thought. Obviously, time will tell, of course, but a
bunch of acquisitions happening.
A lot of acquisitions happening.
Money's flowing.
And they're big too. They're not small.
I can imagine how long this has been on the table. But no, it's crazy, because now we can shift this to a little bit of the trucking markets. So the trucking markets have been just in flux for the past year and a half. And so, we saw a big transition, I think, in something that we're going to talk about, which is in the Southeast. Southeast has just became really the hotspot for rate per miles. If you're a trucking company and you really are, more transactional focused, the Southeast, specifically Atlanta, has been the really the hotspot to get that higher rate per mile. And it begs to ask the question, why? Just because it just shifts overnight, but I think that's really because Savannah's starting to really heat up.
Well, Savannah's really heating up, and obviously that causes Atlanta, which is a massive consumer market, to really heat. Atlanta's an interesting market. So Atlanta floats between the top 1 and 2 spots in terms of largest outbound markets.
I think like 4% market share?
Yeah, in the entire country. It typically competes with Ontario, California for being the biggest market in terms of amount of volume that leaves Atlanta on a continuous basis. And it's got around 4. I think sometimes it's up to 5% of the nation's outbound freight flows through Atlanta or something like that. So it's a massive, massive number. And What's interesting about that is even because it's so massive, there's times when Atlanta actually becomes a backhaul market. And you're like, surely Atlanta cannot be a backhaul market. But there's long stretches of time throughout the year where it will be a backhaul market. And it really just depends on how a lot of freight is flowing through Savannah. Yeah. Obviously, right now, that's not the case. And we saw a flip not that long ago.
Well, let's work on that to let's look at OTVI versus ITVI in a chart.
Absolutely.
And so, but that's the biggest thing. I mean, we've been in this industry long enough to understand when some of these big markets flip like that. And a lot of times for brokers, carriers, it's always like, when does your pricing fail? Is when you start figuring that out. When do I stop receiving, stop winning these loads that I always offer? And when does the pricing all of a sudden become unprofitable and now I'm in the red? And it's when it flips. California does it. Any of these big markets that have a ton of demand, all of a sudden supply goes through the roof, and now you have this influx of it going from a head haul to a back haul market. Yeah. And then that's when you see it. And so I think you got it working now.
We do have it working now. And a great example of this, before we throw Atlanta on the screen, is I was talking with some carriers today, okay? And traditionally a lot of carriers like to avoid the Northeast unless they have specific, routes set up there, some operations set up there. A lot of them try to avoid that area of the spot market. And I was talking to a carrier today, and he was telling me, listen, New Jersey is hot right now. And it is. The Port of New York, New Jersey's hot, Philly area, around southern New Jersey's hot as well. He's getting great rates out there. So, it all goes to show you that just because an area traditionally runs a certain way doesn't mean that that's the way it's always going to run. That sometimes these things just flip like crazy. So let's go ahead and throw up on the screen what we've got in front of us here. And this shows a perfect picture of exactly what we're talking about. So everybody focus on the blue line real quick. The blue line, this is year to date that we're looking at here. This is a daily update. But what SONAR tells us is that the blue line is the outbound volume. So all you need to think of the blue line is great. That's essentially loads that shippers are shipping out of Atlanta today. So they're originating in Atlanta and leaving, period.
Demand for trucks.
Demands for trucks, right? Yep. Load shippers need to move. The green line is what's coming into Atlanta, which is great for understanding, okay, is the resupply of loads coming in, are those trucks that are delivering loads into Atlanta, are they going to be able to resupply the demand of trucks that need to leave Atlanta? So the green line there, notice on the left hand of the screen, in the beginning of the year, the green line is traditionally ahead of the blue line. Sometimes they do come close together, which we see in the middle of February, right? But for the most part, that green line is above, a tiny little dip there, but for the most part, it's above.
And that's
the blue
supply?
Line. Sort of, right? So that's the volume that's coming into Atlanta.
Okay,
so that would be the resupply of trucks that are going to take loads out of Atlanta. So it's a great way to think about it is when the green line is above the blue, it's a backhaul. When the blue line is above the green, it's a head haul.
Right. And so for a carrier, why would that be important for a carrier?
Very simple, right? If you're a carrier, we know the market's hot right now. The question is, where is it the hottest? Where is my truck the most valuable? And what you want to know is there a place where my truck is needed the most? It's as simple as that. All you want to know is, where is my truck needed the most? And that's what this tells you. So when that blue line, look, notice right here, that's in the beginning of May. What's that? Probably May 3rd. That's my birthday is, so best day in May.
Who would have thought such a shift were to happen on Luke's birthday?
Right? Hey, Luke had a lot of gifts to order, so we really shifted the market there. Technically, I think it's like, I think it might be May 4th. But anyways, we're going to call it May 3rd. The point is, folks, when that green line dips below the blue, that's when you know there's a shortage of trucks. Basically, there's more demand. Basically, shippers need more trucks to ship their freight out, and there's not enough trucks coming in to resupply, so you're going to have to deadhead trucks in. Right. That's when you know, clear signal, Atlanta's hot. My truck is needed in Atlanta. It is valuable in Atlanta right now, and the competition is not going to be as stiff.
Right, or if you are consistent in that market, let's say you are an Atlanta-based carrier, and you stay at this one price all the time. Maybe you're a broker as well. Maybe you're used to, this is how it always runs, is right about this price. What that can do, and this is why it's so important to be that signal, is that the alternative is what? You losing loads. You're looking at load board postings, and then all of a sudden you're wondering why trucks are saying no to, they're hiking up the price on you as a broker. This right here can be that signal, since it is updated daily, so that you can proactively start shifting your pricing.
Right.
Start proactively reaching out, try to get more lead time. You know, when we're talking to some of our guys out north in the Buffalo area, we were talking about signals and what can we do. Right there, you can really be able to shift things on a dime.
Yeah. Right, and the thing is after a couple of weeks of this, maybe if you're lucky after a week or two, the carriers will figure this out, and then eventually the brokers will figure it out.
Right.
You don't want to wait that long. You have so much more leverage than that, and that's what
Right.
this is telling you. It's telling you, hey, your truck just got more value. It's very simple, right? You buy a house, and if the value goes up, you want to know that.
Right.
You want to know if the value of your house goes up before you sell it. So do you want to know that after you sell your house? Or do you want to know that right before you sell your house? And that's exactly what this is telling you. It's telling you, listen, the value of your truck just went up. What are you going to do?
Exactly.
What are you going to do?
No,
or the value of your truck went down in some cases. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Are you going to go somewhere else where it's worth more, or are you going to stay where you are? Sometimes you do have to stay where you are, but it does allow you to make certain adjustments.
And even if you're not working in the Atlanta market, knowing that, because it is such a player, it's top one, maybe two sometimes of the market share of the total, that 85% that we see, that $215 billion worth of annual transactions that we see as it's being offered, not just voluntary postings that your provider gives to you every once in a while. It really gives you a leg up against not only your competition, but risk. Because if you think about it from a shipper's perspective, if I'm someone that works in Atlanta and I have freight and I'm trying to get it covered, and then all of a sudden I'm getting quotes back, or my tenders are being rejected, or whenever I'm sending, you know, whoever I'm working with all of a sudden starts rejecting the loads that I normally give them, I want to know that. I don't want to have to start reacting. And then next thing I know, my CFO is beating down my door saying, like, why did our transportation spend just increase overnight? And you're like, I don't know, our providers just started increasing their prices or rejecting the loads that we need for them to pick up.
Exactly. It allows you to be proactive. Something I've got here on the screen for us, just since we were talking a lot about market share. Remember, think of market share as what percent of the nation's freight ships out of this area.
You know, the big old piece of the big apple pie.
Exactly.
4th of July is still running in my veins, you know?
Come on.
You know, Luke's a little slow probably from the meat sweats over the weekend, but he'll keep up.
I make a mean burger, my friend. Anyways, so you can see the darker the blue is where there's a larger amount of freight that leaves that market on a daily basis. It basically says what percent of the nation's freight is in those. The lighter color areas have less freight. So Atlanta, I'll hover over that, almost 4.35% of the nation's freight. It's a ton. Quickly followed by Ontario, California at 4.2%. And then Dallas, a distant third at almost 3%.
It's crazy, and really, I mean, if we're going to try to look at
how biased it is in some of those areas.
Well, let's just look at correlations here. What did we just? I mean, these are massive inland empires.
Yeah.
These are Ontario market, leveraged by the twin ports there of LA, Long Beach.
It's not the port market specifically. It's usually one up from the port. So Atlanta is fed by Savannah, Dallas. Fed by Houston, Ontario fed by LA and Long Beach.
Goes into another. I mean, we beat people up for this. Like you can't just look at the volume. That's why looking at this port activity, even if you're
let's do it again. Harrisburg, fed by New York, New Jersey, and even the port of Philly.
Holy cannoli!
I can keep going, people.
No, it's so accurate in that sense, because what if we? I mean, all these ports honestly have the same amount of output. They haven't been able to really increase the amount of output that they can do. I mean, they could only get as much workers out. I mean, they can only turn these containers out as fast as they can. It's not like overnight they can just increase their production or their productivity that fast. So what's happening is that we're getting all of this demand, and it's just constant. And so we're seeing all of those warehouses in those areas of Dallas, Ontario, Atlanta, Harrisburg. All these areas are just consuming all this freight to then be distributed out. Yeah, I mean it's freaking crazy. But
kind of makes you wonder how much freight has to go to like Tokyo right now for the Olympics.
That's a great question. I wonder what the supply chain is like for that.
That's a good. Well, you think about the Olympics, like that's something that they prepare with a long time in advance.
And I feel like there's massive bids that they go on. years in advance so that they're working with
a lot of
specific
construction. I
providers.
think honestly, construction's a bigger piece. So what I'd be interested in is, does the construction that has to take place for the Olympics, is it enough in a place like, Tokyo or LA or Paris, some of those massive cities? Is it enough to throw off the supply chain of other construction companies that are trying to order supplies?
Yeah, that's actually quite interesting.
It was during COVID, but is it for the Olympics?
And similarly, and when is the Olympics supposed to go off?
It's the opening ceremony. I forget. It's July 28th or something.
Okay, so the end of this month.
Right around
so
there.
still really,
Right
it's really close.
Somebody
and
give me
and
the
so,
correct date.
interestingly enough, Tampa guy, hockey fan.
Yep.
My Lightning are in the Stanley Cup Finals, potentially able to clinch the Stanley Cup tonight. But when they just came up from, they're playing Montreal, so in Canada.
Might be a little Tampa double dip. You got the Super Bowl, the
they
Stanley
only
Cup.
allow back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. So, but interesting enough for them is that Canada still hasn't. They're like maxed out at 3,000 people in that stadium. They only allow a certain percentage of people to go in. They had more people outside the stadium. They had 25,000 people outside the stadium than inside. Reason why I bring that up, do you think that the construction amount that they're going to do in Tokyo is going to be different because they're not expecting that many people to travel?
That's a great question. So two things. Before I answer that, adjustment, Olympics will be July 23rd through August 8th, so I was a little off there. Appreciate it to the folks
You
in the
were
back.
correct in the end of July.
I knew it was end of July, but I was a little too end of July.
Yeah.
So what we have to remember, right? So with Tokyo's, I believe it's the largest city in the world when you factor in the metro area.
Right.
So there are larger cities that have in-city population, but as far as the metropolitan area of Tokyo, it's nearly 40 million people, I believe. Absolutely massive. So there's going to be construction that's going to happen. Some of it they'll have already just have for their own personal use there, right? And they might be a little proactive. Hey, we want to update these areas. Now they won't have to use all that because they're only allowing spectators, native spectators. So from Japan, right? So you have to, I guess, be a permanent resident of Japan.
That's crazy.
To go to the
Even
Olympics
from,
right now.
because that was the same thing with,
Which is really sad
up in
for,
Canada.
you
Because
figure athletes, they want their parents there, their spouses.
That was the
or
biggest
their
thing.
kids.
Like, can you imagine that? Like, for the Lightning, same thing. They couldn't. The families weren't allowed.
Yeah.
So it was only players could cross that border, and so families had to stay home.
For the folks watching, I think we're in Prove Luke wrong mode because now, the folks in the back here are telling me that the greater Tokyo area is 37 million. I said 40 million. Like, I feel like that's, come on. Come on, give me a little bit of help.
If you've ever had a sales process with Luke, you know that maybe I round up.
Sorry, folks, nearest round number here.
Yeah,
okay?
no, that's spot on. But we're coming 6.5 minutes. One thing I really wanted to bring up was our critical events page.
Yeah, I think that's
we are
great.
coming. This was the first hurricane of the year. So Florida, really it came up through Cuba, right up the east or the west coast of Florida, up through the Gulf, and it really stayed in that Naples to Tampa to Gainesville kind of region.
Let's hit it.
And so some things that we never really hit on is going to be our critical events page.
Boom! Look at this, guys. I'm about to boom. Click
what we're looking at.
Look at that.
Are assets. And assets are defined as seaports, rail ports, refineries, airports. And so anything that can really affect the supply chain. And so just what Luke did was he clicked on Elsa and it breaks down really what has happened since and throw a forecast on there as well. So reason why this is so powerful, I remember being a broker and having to deal with these and just trying to feel like, okay, are the markets really shifting from this storm, or is it just people are fearful? And this gives you, within the same platform that you get the tender data, you get the ocean data, you get the rail data, you also have this that you can now leverage with your customers to say, hey, you're getting hit right now. And we can see it with the tender data because it's updated daily. So I posted something the other day, and we already saw lead time start to shift, tender rejections start to increase. So it's very interesting to see, and it's a big piece of the pie once we start getting into the hurricane season that plagues the Southeast.
So there's a lot of severe weather, some tornado watches going on there in South Georgia there, as well as northeastern Florida. Looks like South Carolina is where it's supposed to hit. So it'll be a tropical depression by then, which means gusts are going to be around 45 miles per hour. So that's up there around, right where right in the middle of South Carolina there.
Right.
And then it's going to continue north through the Greensboro area of North Carolina, where it looks like it'll eventually die. But should bring a lot of rain with it, cause a little bit delays there. Again, really around the Jacksonville, Tallahassee right now, and then eventually Savannah and Charleston might see a little bit of that additionally. Like, it looks like right now we've got some medium risk there on the assets there in Savannah. That's going to be heavy. Those assets are really going to be surrounded by the ports there. But yeah, no, great stuff. I think we got some TikToks to react to, so we're going to move on to that. So stay tuned with us if you guys want to see some scary, funny TikToks. I'm not really sure what the folks in the back have planned for us, but I love it. Here we go. Let's see what we got.
No. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Is that a
oh,
cow?
no.
Is that a cow?
No.
Hey, Mama.
No. We don't have guests.
I got a
We're not
friend.
doing this
Can he come
today.
in?
Oh, no. Say
Can you imagine? That reminds me of like the bear one we saw.
That's like when you bring a friend home and it's like,
Hey, Mom, let me talk to you real quick. Just met this guy, new neighbor. Can he come over for dinner? No? Okay.
says he makes the best burgers in town.
He's a real good guy. Trust me, he'll do the yard for us. Ooh. That's a scary boy. Oh, that's more like it. That's actually, Luke, is that your hat? I feel like you're one of those guys that's gonna have one of those
that's like
old
Richie.
English.
Richie's got one.
Oh,
of
that's
those.
Mr. Daigle from Put That Coffee Down.
That's right.
Doing a quick little show launch here.
A little appearance.
George. Oh yeah, there he is. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, bro, you got the snacks? Yeah, the red ones. Oh,
Oh,
what
Was
the?
that a snake? Oh my
I
god.
thought that was a speed bump.
Dude,
Holy
I was not
crap.
ready for that. That's like a giant anaconda or something. I don't.
And the dog just, he's like, whoa, where'd this thing come from?
I like that the snake didn't hardly reacted though.
Guy's probably already eaten a goat and he's just chilling, like, I can't
Maybe he ate
move.
the cow that we
This
saw
is
in the
probably
last
like
one.
Luke after the 4th of July, just like, help me.
Bold of you to assume
Help
it's only
me.
after 4th of July. All right.
Oh! Oh, man, John Cena coming in with the chair.
Oh,
Whoa.
No, but think about that. He came back. You have to make. You have to make a thoughtful decision.
Respect that guy. That kid has probably seen WWE. He's a Ric Flair.
That dude is a champion.
Oh.
Man. To come back, facing your adversaries, there's a lot of life lessons.
Face your fears. Don't be afraid of the ghost, but if you got to face your fears,
He
bring a
ran
chair.
away. He had to take a minute to reset, get the resources he needed, and
Bam.
he came back and boom.
Whammy.
All right, I like it.
Can I get the Walmart? Can I get some
I can tell my
No,
wife
you
this
don't
guy
need something
already.
every time we go to the store.
Mom, please.
Clearly a scientist. Oh,
Can we
boy.
take a picture real quick?
Yeah?
Swag.
See that
Swag.
bush right there?
Yeah.
Bet I can jump over it. No cap.
What does that even mean, cap?
I don't know. I hear all the kids say it. Did you get it?
Did you get it?
Getting some snacks for the road.
No, you don't need any snacks.
Oh, you got mini muffins? Mom, these are busted.
Ooh. Why do I feel like I'm watching my kid?
Yeah.
Does your kid do? Isn't your kid like 3?
Yeah, but dude, you'd be
Whatever that
surprised.
is.
You'd be surprised. Does he tell you no cap? He's like,
you get it,
hey,
Mom?
it's time for
Well,
bed.
he
No
doesn't-
cap, Dad?
He doesn't know any sayings, but he just makes stuff up,
I got so.
Got it.
Ooh, these are my favorite. I got little mochis.
which is no different.
Little
than
mochis.
No cap.
Hold on, Mom. Let me get
Oh,
a
boy.
snack.
No, it's
The
like
snack
you need to
thing
go
is
to
so
bed.
real, dude.
I didn't even eat that much for supper.
So real. That is so real. Let me.
Right into the belly.
Forget that.
That was Luke's swimming career in a nutshell.
Dude has the right response.
He's drooling.
That was a little gross, but that was the correct response.
Oh, Jesus, no.
Wow.
Oh, Jesus, no. What?
What?
Is that a cat?
That thing is gone. Just teleported over there.
That was a cat? That's the reason why I don't have cats. My dogs don't do that.
Yeah. I don't have
They
any
don't do it.
pets.
Sorry. Cat people out there,
Uh-uh.
how about you?
Things the media doesn't want us to see. Watching here.
That's an eye of some sort. Oh, man.
Like an R2D2 or something.
That was slow-mo as well. 100% slow-mo.
Wow.
Have you ever had to mess around with your wife in a way where you're playing a prank or something and your son was like, don't do it?
No. I'm trying to think here.
No?
I have gotten like a couple freakouts when I like pranked her.
Yeah.
Like there was one time, so we were getting ready for church, and like, you know, like at the sink, there's like, you have the faucet, but then you
sprayer?
got the sprayer.
You tied it
so
down.
I taped the sprayer.
Hell yeah.
And then she went to turn on the sink, and then boom, she got nailed, and she screamed, and then our little one just kind of went up and was like, Mama, everything okay? He didn't know what was going on, but quality pranks. I got good pranks. My pranks are mostly harmless, though. Like, I don't want my pranks to hurt people.
I didn't get that one.
I
Sorry.
totally missed that one. Sorry.
Totally missed that one. Ah,
Accurate.
accurate. For sure. Doom, doom, doom.
Surprised they actually got their charger, though, to be honest.
Did you know, speaking of chargers, that, not that I have a Rolex, but if you have like an Oyster Rolex and you have the new charger that goes on the back of your phone, it magnetizes it and messes up your phone or messes up your watch, and you got to go get it fixed. Learn that on TikTok for any Rolex wearers out there.
I was going to say, well, I feel like you're from Florida. I feel like you would have a Rolex.
Yeah, no.
I'm just saying, like.
I know it's natural for Floridians to
Sell a
just have
kidney and
yachts
just go
and ride around in Lambos.
I mean, isn't like the
Lambos
like
on you, dude?
The U.S. like watch show or something's in
Probably.
Miami or
Anyways,
something.
but
Anyways, good
let's
stuff,
give it a
folks.
wrap.
Been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for sticking around with us. For those that did, to react to some TikToks with us. A lot going on in the world today. For those down in Florida and South Georgia, stay safe with Elsa. Hopefully everything's going well. And as well, especially for those that are driving, do stay safe. And if you want to learn more about Sonar, please don't hesitate to reach out to Luke and Kyle. We'll be happy to get you taken care of. And have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Really?
Really? Listen, like nobody
These
even cares.
bad
Like,
boys,
no, what is
limited
this? Okay,
edition,
like, yeah, get rid of that.
UNC.
Nobody wants to see that.
Oh, Michael Jordan is going to be.
Nobody wants to see that.
Dude, the 6'5" just whop right over your. What? Really? Yeah, that hurt. I'm still thinking about that.
Hurts having to rewatch it.